So, hello again for me again, because I actually recorded another episode just before this one. And welcome to the next episode of the Self Development with Tactics actual podcast. Not the fake one, but the actual one. And I do hope that the sound quality is alright, because I just a little play around with how the microphone is at my table and how I should do it so that it's not quite in my fucking face, but somehow that the audio quality is better, that it's not getting too much noise from my PC and whatsoever. But as you now can see in the background, we're actually going ahead with Linchpin by Seth Godin, which is, at my point of view, quite a great book. So I'm pretty pumped to see what's going on in it, even though I'm just wishing that there might be a little bit of a practical advice maybe, because up to this point I think it's more about the mindset and more about theoretical and maybe even philosophical stuff. I don't know, what's the definition of being philosophical or philosophically? But yeah, we go ahead with chapter 5, even though we started a little bit with it, but I do just want to go through it as once again to actually create the context and create the just framework for actually you and me as well, understanding it to the whole thing. But yeah, so chapter 5, is it possible to do hard work in a cubicle? And I do by now not know what a cubicle is, but I'll still go ahead. So Seth Godin says that in everything you do, it's possible to be an artist. But what is art? Art requires an element of risk and daring. If it is risk-free, it is usually not art. And a certain complexity, your art is what you do when no one can tell you exactly how to do it. The last element that defines art is the gift. You can't do it just for money. You can't do it just for money. Which is, I do think, totally right. Because all the time that I'm doing something creative, whether it's some posts and whether it's something like I don't know, if it's really my art and if it's really my style, then I think involving money with it, so consciously, with being like, okay, I want to make something that generates the most money I can do. I do think that just isn't working with art, because art is something that I would say is a way to express something or yourself. And if you're doing something, or if you do express yourself for the money, I do think you probably have to fake some things. And maybe because, if you're feeling good and if you're feeling well and you're doing art when you're feeling well and good, this way of art and this certain picture or these certain pictures may sell a little bit more than would you just, create the same style over and over again, even though you actually want to do something different all the time. It is something, I do think it is difficult. It is quite difficult. But yeah. Salaried work. He says he hates that approach to life as to live, as it cheapens us. First, he asks, are you willing to sell yourself so cheaply? Do you want to swap an entire irreplaceable day of your life for a few bucks? When you sell yourself for money, you're not the artist you could be. And second, it's a cold mathematical transaction with no added value. I give you money and you give me time. At the end of the day, there is no bond and you're owed nothing and I owe you nothing. The alternative is to use that day as your chance to do art, not available to anyone merely because he is the highest bidder. Who is your boss? The artist is supposed to change us, but when you have a boss too often, your job is to please that boss rather than changing him, her, or the people around you. This is actually also something that we actually went through as well the last time, and I do definitely would like you to go to the last episode of this. There might be something in it. It is called Going Against the Grain, if I do remember correctly. It was quite a great episode. I do think you can get something at least out of it, something a little bit. but I do think that it is, yeah, that it would be not necessary for you to actually enjoy the whole one, because I think it is more like a few chapters and a few points and a few stories, not like one long story. So therefore, if you want to check it out, please do it. If not, and if you do not have the time to actually switch it, or you do not have the opportunity or the possibility, stay with me and just stay with me. So it is okay to have someone you work for, and it is also okay having someone watching over you and paying you. But the moment you treat that person like a boss in charge of your choices and output, then you're not an artist, you are a cog. The myth of project-specific passion. Seth Godin also debunks the idea of finding your passion. You don't magically find your passion. Jeff Bezos wouldn't have been sitting around in a pre-internet era, and Spike Lee wouldn't be an average Joe if he hadn't found a camera. Passion is not dependent on a particular project or endeavor. It is inside of us. Perhaps your challenge isn't finding a better project. Maybe you need to get in touch with the fire within you and learn to becoming more passionate, because the combination of passion and art will make you a linchpin. And I do think the combination of passion and art, which is somehow like you are passionate about something and you're also good at something, because art is definitely, and it is just you, and it's just fulfilling you. Something just feels for me so good. I do not know how I should actually explain what I quite mean, what is in my mind, but I do think that this just sounds good. Just, being passionate and making your art. I don't know, maybe you can explain it to me. Maybe you have just a really particular thought about this one. So if you have, please text me, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, or here on the video. For the podcast, there is unfortunately not a way, I think, actually. At least not on Anchor or I don't know what platforms on Spotify. It's not. But yeah, so just DM me, I would say. I think, by the way, afterwards, I think I'll go out and just ride a little bit my bike and just see what's going on out there, because it's actually 4:30, so fairly late, and nothing pretty nice for me. I do just really love to be outside, but also love to do what I'm doing right now. What I not love to do is actually having the somehow, having the shit in my mind that I actually do have to do something, because I do actually have to learn maths, because it didn't went too well the last time, but I quite don't want to. It's feeling like it takes up so much time. It quite felt for me like, I'm just losing so much time at just figuring out how this is actually working and what I should do to do it best and whatsoever, that I actually decided to quite do this right now, doing the posts and doing the videos and doing whatever I have to do or I want to do, and actually afterwards maybe going through it as well, or just doing it tomorrow, because today is Saturday and tomorrow is Sunday, and tomorrow is actually also a little bit of a time for doing it. Who is it for? You will not be able to do art for everyone. As a matter of fact, art for everyone is mediocre. Your art must be focused. Totally true, and it's totally something that Seth Godin stands for, just pretty much, yeah. Because he's talking about the smallest viable market and actually just going for your customer, rather than going to the masses or going for the masses, is the key. And it makes sense. If you're just really doing something that might be involving 20 people, so basically have 20 people as a customer base on the whole world, it would also work. Because if you just make the product just expensive enough, you can live from it as well. No matter if it's one customer or 2 or 3 or 5,000, even though you could also be like, okay, you have 5,000 customers, but you're still doing it sort of pricing wise like you would have one customer. But yeah, gifts versus MBAs. The Digitization of work makes MBAs happy. Today you can measure and put stuff on spreadsheet. Hallelujah. The problem is that everyone is doing the same. Your competitors are analyzing the same data and using the same spreadsheet. Similarly to asymptotes in data-driven environments, there is little room for quantum growth. The easier it is to quantify, the less it's worth. And the passion to spread. Passion means caring so much about your art that you would do almost anything to spread it. And it can also mean giving up parts you love in order to spread the rest. Seth Godin mentions people he knows who write books which don't sell and still refuse to change anything to stay true to their art. That way though, the art is useless because it's not being consumed. And if not consumed, it's not art, only effort. Well, makes sense. So swapping your days for a salary, are you willing to sell yourself so cheaply? Just a really provocative question, I would say. Totally. But interesting, and then funny to hear, like, okay, he's just really going for it. Actually nice. So chapter 6, the resistance. Shipping. The only purpose to start is to finish. The project we are working on never really finish, but they must ship. Real artists ship. Shipping means hitting the publish button, doing the sales pitch, picking up the phone. Shipping is where your art meets the world. Seth Godin says that meeting deadlines regularly without hassle, emergency or fear is a rare skill and something that will make you indispensable. The lizard brain. And here we get to the all-important resistance. What's stopping you from delivering your art? Seth Godin says, and actually often it is quite something that's internally. Most of the time, all these things that are quite driving us, first of all, but also the negative things like that is just somehow stopping you or holding you back. Most of the time, things that is quite just in us. It's not about things that are from the outside, but rather in the inside. And I think that's quite interesting. And I do just think about, okay, just maybe feeling bad. Most of the time I would say that when people feel bad, it's because other people fuck with them, or other people are or seem to be angry with them or whatsoever. But the thing is, it is also about your perspective. If you're just thinking about all the people are just hating on me and they just want to fuck with me and, in a negative way, so not in a positive way. It is often about how you think about certain things. This is definitely what I want to say, but I just messed it up beforehand, to be honest. But actually, just things that drive you, maybe the passion, the motivation to actually achieving something, the willingness to, I don't know, there are quite a lot of things. Whether it's you, I do just fucked it up a little bit for myself. Because I was just thinking about something, but I quite lost it somehow. What I initially want to say about the other people outside is that often we actually think that other people are talking about us and other people are fucking with us, and we're just thinking it, even though it is not the real deal. And this is what I meant when saying, often it is just the internal stuff that is quite making us happy and making us feel down. Because we think these people are angry at us, or these people don't like us, or these people whatever, or this is just not working out because I fucked it up and I think I fucked it up and whatsoever. By the way, because I just mentioned it, taking responsibility is something that's pretty great. Because if you're just giving the responsibility to somebody else or blame somebody else, it wasn't not that good because my cameraman didn't shoot the video so well and whatsoever, it is fucked up, totally, because you're then not in the position to actually change something. If you're blaming somebody else and if you're telling somebody else, you are actually the person and or the reason why these all things or this all shit just went down and everything was shit, then you do not have any fucking opportunity to change something about how this person is behaving. And this is the point. If you say, okay, he did it like this way and this was bad and therefore everything is shit, he has to change so that the whole situation will change. But if you blame yourself, only you have to change. And I would say that actually changing yourself is a little bit easier than changing people around you, if they do not want to do it by themselves. Just actually forcing them to do something is quite fairly difficult. And therefore actually just changing the way you're thinking about certain things and the way your perspective is actually a most faster way to actually just change people. Because only you're just viewing them differently. They're just the same people, but you're viewing them differently, and so they changed somehow. And they didn't have to, only you, which is a little easier. What's stopping you from delivering your art? Seth Godin says it's fear. It's the fear of being ridiculed, of standing out and standing for something. And we are even afraid of openly talking about this kind of fear. In ourselves we have a demon, which is our artistic genius, and the resistance, which is our lizard brain, shackling the demon. Indeed, Seth Godin empathetically says, we don't need more genius, we need less resistance. Here are a few ways to the lizard brain typically stops you. I don't have any good ideas. I didn't graduate from insert brand of some prestigious educational institute here. And the whole great thing is that he actually says it is a brand. And it is totally true. It is only a brand. It doesn't quite have anything to do with how good this university is. It's just a branding. Harvard is good because it has always been good. It's just a brand. The brand Harvard. And actually, I think in California, there is actually the best university out there. And it is also a brand. I do quite not want to say that Harvard is shit or this other Californian university is shit. They're probably good. They are branded, but I would also say that they have... Initially, we do quite just generate that status. And I do think, and I hope that it is like this, that they actually did something in a great way, or they just, had so great teachers, that they actually quite got that status of being the best university on the fucking planet. But even though it could also be like, okay, it is just now normal, and it's just like an assumption of everyone that Harvard is a good university. And so therefore Harvard makes a lot of money, because you just have to pay such a lot of money to actually just attend this university. But it's actually not greater than, some mediocre university somewhere else. It definitely just depends on what people there are in terms of the professors. But it then just also has to be like the professors have to be there first and then the brand Harvard. But if it's the other way around, it's definitely, again, like, okay, it's Harvard and everybody assumes that, okay, this is a great brand and this is a great university and I will just put up my status if I'm just teaching at a high status university. But if it's like, at first there were great professors and then there came the status, it's totally fine. But enough being philosophical about universities. My boss won't let me, which is the last one. And now please add to that list and people will laugh at me if I try. Great, now at least you got your real reason there. One way to control is to rationalize what's happening and saying it out loud. My lizard brain is making me anxious. I'm angry right now because being angry is keeping me from doing my work. Another way to dominate the resistance is to always head directly into the resistance. Quit the tasks you're doing out of fear and do the tasks you are afraid of. Once you start doing work that matters, the lizard brain will silence and you will hear the full roar of your demon. Even though it's quite interesting that they actually use such a negative word for the genius inside you. I don't know. But I do quite, maybe I'm just reading, in between the lines, but, But I don't know. I'm quite just reading something, as I said, between the lines, that he actually says that you shouldn't just somehow wait not too long, or somehow do not just do something that doesn't matter anyways, or just something it's quite difficult to explain what I actually mean. That is actually like, okay, the actual task you want to do is actually just being a real estate agent. But then you think like, okay, you just have to do things like, I don't know, what do you have to do to become an agent, or just something that you might be doing to become an agent? Maybe you just think about, okay, you just have to learn something about real estate before. And I quite read that you actually should just go for the agent at first, actually going to any company and just being an agent there. Or just being like, okay, I want to just learn being an agent, and actually then also doing it, because you're just learning how to. But if I'm wrong, please tell me. Seth Godin also recommends you don't set up a judge for your goal. Not having a judge will let you work on your art without alerting the resistance. Because people who learn to react to the resistance run towards it. Now you can understand why Seth Godin says that the difference between a successful artist and a failed one happens after the idea is hatched. The difference is the race to completion. Did you finish? Question mark. Developing plan B. And there is quite an interesting debate that I forgot to in the last episode I actually forgot to play the outro. Something that is the first time it actually happened to me, and I do think it's because I didn't have anything to record yesterday. But in terms of the whole plan A, plan B, somehow debate, I would actually say it is quite interesting, because some people say, okay, you need a plan B, and some people say, okay, having a plan B actually somehow distracts you from plan A, which is also quite right, and it makes sense. What the fuck? It totally makes sense, because if you're having a plan B, you're not quite sure about your plan A, and you think like, this could go wrong, and you're not going in just all in, so therefore I would say there's the Schwarzenegger assumption, and there is, I don't know, somebody else's assumption or just strategy. So Arnold actually says that you should actually do not have any plan B, because actually doing it like, okay, entering the village or entering the island and burning all the boats and all the bridges behind you is actually the way to go, because then you just have to. And I do also believe in it somehow. I also believe in it in a way that actually being like, okay, I'm having to just give my best to achieve something in that area, because there is no plan B, could actually be a great drive. And this is also, at my point of view at least, maybe one of the reasons why actually a lot of people who were poor and a lot of people who didn't have any money at all at first are getting pretty rich, and because they had nothing and there was no going back, and there was no other option than just trying to generate money, trying to get money, trying to just somehow earn something by just doing something, and just by doing everything they could, by just really going all in. But the problem is, for me, having a plan B on the other side could be great as well, because especially if you're not quite sure, but if you're not sure, should you even do it? If you're actually thinking like, okay, this is something that I'm not quite sure about, should I even do this? Should I actually just try it? It is pretty difficult. But what I want to say is that actually having a plan B could be great, because it's just a backup. It's just giving you an opportunity, or giving you a framework to actually not losing anything. It's about everything or nothing. But yeah, let's see what he's actually saying. You will have people coming to you with nice suggestions. The nice suggestions is often that you should get a backup plan in case things don't go as hoped. And you know what happens when you get a plan B? You settle for that. As soon as you say, I'll try my best rather than I will, you will leave the door ajar for the lizard brain to bust through a reset camp in your mind. And this is quite what I just meant beforehand, and I'm very sorry for actually not showing you. This is actually what I meant. With having a plan B, is actually like you're not pretty much believing in plan A. And you're thinking like, okay, plan B is definitely an option, and I will just go for it also, somehow. Anxiety. Anxiety is fear about fear, basically a fear that serves nothing. Fear is often a spiral. It's triggered by something small and immediately takes over. Seth Godin says you control anxiety by embracing it. Don't as such or as such. Don't or as such. I think as such. Don't as no, it's as such it, whatever. Don't blah blah it. Don't try to force it away. So the next time you're afraid, if you got the passport and you already checked, don't check again. And don't get up to check the lights. So the next time you're afraid if you got the passport and you already checked, don't check it again and don't get up to check the lights. And I do think it plays quite great in the hands of things that I just talk about quite often, which is not getting crippled by what you're doing. Just often there is a way of actually doing it in a way that might fuck with you in a negative way. And there's also a way to actually being like normal. And this is what I said, just what he says. Because actually just checking every single fucking time, every single fucking moment, if your passport is there, is actually crippling you to some degree. And therefore just being like, okay, I will just do it like this, and I just check it once, and this is it, and not getting crippled by the thought of actually having it maybe not in your pockets or whatsoever. Did I end it? Nevertheless. So the difference is the race to completion or completion. Did you finish? Chapter 7, The Powerful Culture of Gifts. Seth Godin says we evolve based on mutual support and generosity. And that we are made to give rather than to receive. Becoming a linchpin is an act of generosity, because it will give you the platform for giving gifts and expanding what he calls emotional labor. Some people see gifts in light of receiving, and some others to get something back, possibly something bigger. The most successful ones give gifts as a demonstration of love. They like giving gifts because it gives them joy. They seek respect, not reciprocity or reciprocity, or whatever it is called. Being a linchpin is about delivering gifts that can never be adequately paid for. And don't worry about being left with nothing. Gift signals the world that we have plenty more to share, and the more you have in your cup, the more people are to want a drink. Great. Just nothing to say, but great. Definitely. And yeah. We've actually not missing out the intro once again. This is it with the episode. I do hope that you enjoyed it to some degree. I do hope I wasn't too fast and wasn't too different or difficult, because to be honest, it quite felt a little bit bad actually just going through the last one. Maybe it's just, and probably it's just because I didn't eat something today, which is totally fucking me most of the time. But I do hope that you get the best health, wealth, happiness, and success. But don't forget about your legacy and about giving back to the people. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you checked out the other episode as well. I'll see you.